Hello everyone, and welcome to another chapter of Jack Jameson, archaeologist and avid adventurer. Penned by Ryland Mason, narrated by me, Brian Shepard. Chapter 8. Floating down a raging river was not on my to-do list today. I was still holding on to Chris as we searched for anything to hold on to. A rock, a log, anything. Nothing. We even tried swimming as fast as we could to make it to shore. Yet the current was too strong. I wonder why. Oh yeah, the waterfall that was creeping up. I made sure to let Chris know everything would be fine. It's just like the Splash Mountain ride. Once the doors open, you see nothing but open skies and then down you go. However, this time we weren't in a boat. We had nothing. The worried look on his face had me reassuring him once again that as long as he held my hand when we went over, I would see him when we resurfaced. If we survived. Of course we would survive. Who am I kidding? Things will be fine. As we went over the falls, down we went. Okay, not like the ride. Not at all like the ride, as it was much further down as I thought. We both came down hard and splashed into the water. By then, I had lost Chris. When I resurfaced, I yelled for Chris while looking around. Nothing. I continued to yell his name and waded through the water frantically, trying to locate him, when I finally saw him lying on the embankment, on his back, not moving. Rushing over to him, I knelt down beside him and could see his chest rising and falling. Good, still breathing. I then started to say his name and sat him up as he choked out water still inside of him. When he complained about pain in his head, and that he wanted to lie back down. When I removed my hand from the back of his head after gently placing him back, my hand was covered in blood. Not good. Blood was coming from the side. Chris, babe, your head is bleeding. I'm going to have to take a look to see how bad. You must have hit your head when you reached the bottom, I said as he just nodded, keeping his eyes closed. I gently moved his head to the side so I could see how big of a gash he had. It was the size of a quarter and still bleeding. The first aid kit was in the bag. The good thing is the contents were still dry, so I was able to clean and bandage him up quickly so he didn't get an infection. Chris just laid there, eyes opening and closing. I think we'll need to rest here, as I didn't think he would want to get up and move. And we were soaked. Time for a fire. Chris slept for the rest of the afternoon, while I managed to get the fire going. I tried to get it as close as I could to him to keep him warm and the animals and bugs away. It was nearing 10 p.m., and the jungle began to come alive with different sounds. So many different types of animals and insects call the Amazon home. Like I said, you have to be aware of your surroundings, which leaves little sleep for me as I didn't want to push Chris, and it was already dark. I needed to stay awake just in case something or someone came around. The Amazon rainforest was home to jaguars, anacondas, poison dart frogs, giant centipede, the red-bellied piranha, and of course, not my favorite, but the Brazilian wandering spider. And of course, that's just a few. So to have the Amazon to watch out for, we also had Cassius and his lackeys to contend with. Maybe just a few minutes to close my eyes. What do they call it? A cat nap. I had just closed my eyes when Chris started to stir and sat upright, looking around as if confused. I then moved over to him and just sat there. "You're okay, Chris," I said to him calmly. I had to remember we went over a massive waterfall, mixed with hitting his head. I'm sure he would be a little dazed and confused. He just looked at me and then smiled. Are you feeling okay? Here, drink some water. Handing him a bottle of water, which he drank about half, non-stop. Well, that's a good sign. Just like Splash Mountain? I think not. Wow, that was horrible. No wonder why I don't ride roller coasters. How long have I been out for? Pretty much all afternoon up till now. It's now, 11:37. You insisted on laying down as you hit your head when we landed. I tended to your head and started a fire. Your change of clothes should be dry now if you wish to change, I said as I gathered up his dry clothes from the makeshift clothesline I had put together with vines. I then walked away and turned, not before telling him, shake them out first, and try to be quick, as you don't want to get mosquito bites all over, I said as he just nodded and I turned to give him privacy. I'm hungry. What do we have that wasn't ruined? He asked as he grabbed the bag that was lying next to him. Granola bars, peanut butter chip, and chocolate chip. Not much else, I'm afraid. Oh, and maybe some cashew halves, I said as he opened the peanut butter one. And just like that, all of a sudden it became so much brighter, as if the sky had opened up. The moon was low tonight, and once the clouds did move away, it lit up the jungle so much it had taken Chris's thoughts, as well as he just stared off across the water. Jack, what is that? He said as he pointed across the water to the other side. As I followed his finger, I could see something sparkling in the moonlight. It looked like it was coming from the rock wall. The moon was bright enough to go and investigate further. Chris was trying to get up, which I quickly steadied him as his legs wanted to give out from laying down. I rather he stay put, yet I knew that was not going to happen. Are you all right? I asked while holding on to him still. He nodded and shook off the dizziness. Stay close and follow me. There has to be an easier way than having to wade back through the water and get soaked again. Over there, we can walk behind the water. Chris again nodded, and we began to walk around to the other side. I went first, hugging the wall as not to get completely wet, and watching my step as it was very slippery. I cautioned him as well to watch his step. Making it to the other side, we made it to what looked like drawings etched into the rock. Beautiful work, if you ask me. There's a temple. What looks like a bird? Oh, a harpy eagle. Figures that resemble people around the temple. This is extraordinary, Chris said with excitement. I've never seen anything like it. Look, it's a diamond. Smiling away. I've never seen him so excited. In the middle of the temple-looking drawing was, in fact, a diamond. I had to put my thinking cap on. There were other drawings, but over time they had faded. Why would this be here? The harpy is only found in one area of the jungle. Even to see one in the wild is rare. Maybe the city was close to them, Chris said, as he traced the picture with his fingers. I remember learning about them in school. The harpy eagle is the largest raptor in the Amazon rainforest and one of the biggest eagles in the world. Although there are healthy populations of this majestic bird in the Peruvian rainforest, they are very difficult to see. The only question I have is why make these drawings? What does it mean? Unless... I had to stop and think for a second. I wonder if this is telling us where she is buried. Under the temple? Or at least close by? I have a thought, I said, as I really wasn't sure. Yet, bouncing this off Chris, he might think I'm right. Or crazy. Care to share with the rest of the class? smiling as he just looked at me, waiting for my theory. I'm wondering if this depiction is of her burial or resting place. The only reference to diamonds is the crown. Other than that, it was mostly trade. I have a feeling we are close. So I suggest we pack up as soon as it's light out and begin our search. I just hope we get there before you know who, I said as we made our way back to the fire. We took turns sleeping until the sun started to rise. Chris helped me pack up our stuff as I put out the fire and cleaned up anything left behind. I wanted us to be first to find the city, find what we were looking for, and be out of there, even before Cassius had a chance to look. No way was I going to let him get to it. As Chris and I continued to forge ahead, making our way through the jungle and keeping our eyes and ears open for anything, we talked about the lost city and Lorena's diary, which was only half translated. Something clicked in my head just then. Her father was English, so I'm going to assume her mother was Spanish. Why else would she write in Spanish to her father and brother? She would also throw in the native language as well, I said as it clicked in Chris's head, which had him turning and looking at me. That would explain that. We'll have to do more digging when we return, as I believe there is so much more to her and her family. We have been so concerned and focused on the diary that we never thought to look back and investigate her mother. I'm sure the museum would love to dive into that when we return. All I know is that a vacation is needed after this. Not sure I'll fit into anything, as I believe I've sweated the weight off, he said as he continued hacking our way through the thick brush. That's when he stopped dead. Why did you stop? I asked quietly. Listen, he said as he pointed up to the trees. You could hear flapping, almost like a bird flapping its wings. There, Chris said, pointing this time. High up in the tree was a harpy, perched on the highest branch. If Chris didn't hear it, we would have never have known it was there. We must be close, he said, still looking up at the eagle. I was about to say something when a gunshot rang through the jungle, making the harpy fly away, along with at least 10 others. A happy moment just turned sour as we both crept forward to see a clearing up ahead. It was Cassius and his 3 goons. Well, 2 now. It looked as if Jeff was no more, as he just laid on the ground with a hole in his head. That's what happens when you fail me, Cassius said, now looking at the other 2 who stood in front of him, startled. It seems I have to think and do everything myself. How do 3 big guys lose 2 people? I know they're alive, and I told you I wanted you to bring them to me. Someone didn't look good enough. Now I had to resort to bringing in more help. Trained help. As soon as he said that, men on dirt bikes came roaring out of the jungle and began circling Cassius. This was not good, as it seemed he was desperate to take us out even before we found the city. I believe it's time for us to go, I said as Chris just turned and looked at me with worry in his eyes. You could hear Cassius's big mouth saying something over the revving of the dirt bikes. No doubt killing instructions. Now we had even more to look out for and needed to put some distance between us and them. Chris and I continued to slash our way through. However, all we could hear were the bikes getting closer. Unfortunately, due to what was happening, we really couldn't stop to look at the map, as I knew we had to be heading in the wrong direction. As we quickened our pace, I had to quickly grab Chris as the path ended, and there was a huge drop-off. One more step, and he would have fallen. There would have been no bouncing back from down there. Crap. Now what? We need to get to the other side somehow. That's when he looked to the left and pointed. There's a bridge. Well, if you can call it that. Looks old. We started to make our way over to what looked like a bridge made of rope and a bunch of old planks. Yep, just like you see in the movies. Scary old bridges that look like they're just hanging on for a couple of unsuspecting explorers waiting to cross so it can fall apart, sending you down to your death. Great. I'm going to go first. This way I can tell you where not to step. Don't overthink it, I said as he was just looking at it, shaking his head. I'm not. Such a bad liar. Yes, you are. We'll be fine, I said as I took hold of both sides and began this crazy journey across. The first step was a doozy, as the wood creaked and then broke. Okay, off to a bad start already. This maybe was a bad idea, yet I kept going, trying not to look down. Yeah, okay, not easy and not helping. Shaky, wobbly, and totally unsafe as boards kept breaking. I got about halfway across when I turned to let Chris know it was his turn to come across. Of course, he just stood there looking at it like I was crazy. You'll be fine. Just take your time and step where it didn't break. Keep a hold of both sides to steady yourself. And for God's sakes, don't look down. No, I won't be fine. Jack, I don't think this is a good idea. I think I might try to find another way across. There has to be another way, he said as he started to back away from the bridge. Babe, I'd rather you cross and be safe over here with me. As I said, I was just about to finish. The sound of dirt bikes drowned out whatever Chris said back, which had me in panic mode. Did you just call me babe? Is that where you think we're at? He asked as he stopped midway through. Chris, are you really asking me now? We have bigger issues at the moment, and I just need you to keep going. You might want to kick rocks and move faster, though. The dirt bikes were getting louder, so it was only a matter of time before they would be at the bridge and see us. Well, Chris, if he didn't move. Boards, where I had been, were starting to break. I wanted to close my eyes every time I would hear the creak and crack of them breaking, but I kept watching. He was almost to me when they arrived, and they meant all three men on bikes, and then Cassius emerged from the jungle, flanked by his two goons. Jack, Chris, nice to see both of you alive and well. Rather, I would hoped you both weren't. Don't just stand there, go after them, he said as he pointed towards us. You're a murdering piece of... Jack, a little help here. Chris chimed in at the wrong time, as the last two boards were gone, so he would have to walk on the rope to the side if he was to avoid falling and making it off. Bob and the other goon were making headway on the bridge. The bikers were now shooting at us. Chris, just jump towards me. I'll have to catch you. We need to move. No time, I said as they were getting closer, about halfway. All of a sudden, we all heard what sounded like a cable snapping. The bridge dropped just a little. Everyone just stood there looking at each other. Chris, now would be a good time, if any, sticking my arm out to grab him and pull him in. Bob was the first one to take a step, which all it took for the bridge to give way and fell apart, sending them with it to the bottom. Chris, grabbing my arm at the last second, just hung there off the cliff. I used both hands to hoist him up as they just kept shooting. Getting him up and taking cover, we dodged into the jungle. The shooting had stopped. I'm gonna find you both, Jack, and when I do, Chris will be the first one so you can watch, Cassius yelled across. I turned as I wanted to respond, yet Chris took my hand and we kept moving. Not worth it, Jack. He's nothing but a piece of shit. That's my line, damn it, I said in frustration, as I really have been waiting to say it. Oh well, moving on. We must have been walking for about an hour when Chris came to a halt. Looking ahead, I noticed a statue, covered in vines and most of its body gone and fallen to the ground over time. Old and creepy looking. Not one, but two. This is it. This is the gate to the city. It has to be.